Good morning, Annalie Swiegers. Welcome to Berry's Garden. How are you today?
Hi, Barry. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very well, thank you. And how are you doing? I
I'm doing
love your work
great.
that you're doing.
I'm loving the work that I'm doing. I'm enjoying speaking to people like you and learning all sorts of things. And now that actually, Annalie, you are a spiritual astrologer, right?
It's mostly because I live on a farm.
Okay, so you
So
work
you,
remotely, but this, sorry, say that again. I missed that.
I didn't hear you properly. I thought you said virtual astrologer, which I am as well. Yes, I'm a spiritual astrologer. Mostly because I am very spiritual, and you can use astrology for many things. But I interrupted your question.
No, not at all. I was going to say to you today, right now, it is the 23rd of April, and you chose this specific date and time for a reason. So before we actually get on to all the things I want to ask you, could you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, I chose today because it's the new moon. And I think it's just for being an astrologer, you work with the stars and you work with the energies. So today we've got a new moon, which means we've got the sun and the moon in the same degree. And it brings us the opportunity to set new intentions. But this new moon in Taurus is quite special because we've got a third planet in the equation, which is Uranus. And Uranus is it's quite the opposite energy from Taurus. So although we have the new moon and we can set new intentions to create security for ourselves, to plant seeds of stability, we have Uranus joining the party. And Uranus says, no, let's not do it that way. Let's start with new things. Let's break it up. Let's blow it up. And it's so befitting because Uranus is also the planet ruling the internet. So that makes sense for me to become more visible on the internet. So that's my intention for today.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's really interesting because that whole sense of things being blown up so that and to getting rid of the old to make space for the new came up in an earlier conversation I had today with the tarot reader who drew the tower. So that's really working in with the energies that you're speaking of. So it's so interesting for me that the tarot deck is reflecting what you're seeing in the stars today.
We are very connected. The tarot readers are, and the astrologers are quite connected. So yeah, I think for the moment, it's the energy is just exactly what we are experiencing at the moment with people feeling unsafe financially. The new moon in Taurus is actually giving us the support to think about doing it in a different way because the old ways, Uranus will see that we won't have the same path to create security for ourselves. So yeah, good time to set new intentions.
Well, that's great to know, and especially because there's always a danger in a time like this that we would revert once our pandemic is over. There's always the temptation to revert to the way things were before, to go back to our comfort zone. And really, what I'm hearing from you is that that's something we should be guarding against.
Yeah, definitely. I think the moment is actually so intense, and the other planets involved in the pandemic is slow moving planets. So it's going to keep us in the situation until we have created a new path. Um, the the spiritual people out there tell us that we have to adapt. This is the time for adaptation, and the ones who want to stay with the old way is going to have a hard time. It's going to cause trauma. We're talking about Pluto here. It doesn't take hostages. We have to change.
So tell me a little bit about what exactly is spiritual astrology. I'm just wondering what makes it different from normal astrology.
Well, I use astrology as a tool, obviously. So astrology can be used in many ways. The way I use it is to assist people to find out who they are, why they are here, um, this specific lifetime, what are their dharma and karma, which is the patterns, the karma is patterns that we've created in the past and repeating it and having the same difficulty manifesting. To find out what that is and to let go of them and then to start leaning towards your dharma, the new path, the things that must come easier. So it's to me, I use it as a tool to help people understand their natal chart, who they are, and I help them work with their chart, their sun, their moon, their ascendant specifically. I like to bring in Venus as well, and obviously all the planets, but in a smaller way, I help people to understand um, what they can do to make it easier. I think knowledge is so incredibly important. We're not having a pleasant life all the time, so the more we can understand, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And that actually brings me to my next question, because what I'm hearing really is that maybe what happens to you in life is not as important as what you do with it. But now that's interesting, because a natal chart is fixed, right? So it's like, I think one of the words that you've used to me before is it's a photograph it's like a photograph that's taken of the planets at the moment of your birth. And I love that description. But then if it is so fixed, then does that mean that everything is just laid out and actually we don't have choice anymore?
Well, it's a little bit like having blue eyes. You do have blue eyes. That's fixed. You can't change that. Yes, the natal chart is fixed, but the future isn't fixed. So, it's the potential, it's your natal blueprint. It tells us who you are, but we have free choice. We have free will. So we can either dance with the music of that chart or we can dance against it. And that's actually the whole thing that I'm doing. I'm helping people to hear their own music and to have a beautiful dance, not a dance that you constantly feel you're out of rhythm with yourself. And then we have the planets of the moment. So the transiting planets can, trigger things on your chart and bring out the potential of the chart. Depending on how conscious you dance with that music, you'll find that you can use all the opportunities that come on your path and evolve and grow and let go of old things that doesn't serve you anymore. Or you can dance against it and miss the opportunity, and it might come again or not. So yes, the future isn't fixed, and how we respond to the energies, it's free choice.
So I think you mentioned earlier, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I think you mentioned earlier that the current planet of influence, did you say that's Uranus? Okay, so tell
Yes,
us
that's
a little bit
one of
more about how we should be working with that energy right now, especially given the fact that we're in a pandemic, we're in lockdown, a lot of people are very, very stressed and concerned.
Yeah. For today, we have the new moon and the sun conjunct, which means next to Uranus. So that is the energy for today, and for the next 2 weeks, you can set that intention, and even for the next 6 months. But there are more things going on in the background. The coronavirus and all of the lockdown and the power plays going on out there, the whole drama around money is more connected to the Saturn Pluto conjunction that we had late in December. And as I said, it's slow moving planets. So they were the whole of last year. The energy was sort of building up, and the pressure was there, and the pressure was there. So we started. So many people will tell you that they knew something was coming, something had to give. We couldn't carry on like we did. We heard that for many years, actually. But that we had a second hit of Saturn and Pluto coming very closely together, and that was in January. And it was a strange thing because many astrologers had the feeling that we are going into the potential of a third world war. Nobody could foresee that that would come in a tiny little virus that we can't see. And that's actually the energy we're dealing with at the moment. So we need to adapt. We need to change. The power that's been abused in the past, and that can be on a global scale, or that can be in your own house or in your own life. So the message is, what can you do different? How can it become more fair? How can it become more real? How can you adapt your life so that you can take care of yourself and not be reliant on um, anything out there that's not reliable? I don't know if I'm asking your question. Please ask if I.
No,
If I
you
didn't.
are. I find this fascinating. And that whole sense of anything that's not reliable is very interesting. I listened to a talk yesterday where somebody was explaining about how anything that doesn't dissolve into the earth doesn't become food. And therefore is something that we need to actually get rid of. So all of our plastic waste, all of our manufacturing effluent, these things that don't ultimately become part of the food cycle for humanity and all of life are things that we need to get rid of. And now I'm hearing all of that reflected in what you're telling me. So is this an indication the stars are really giving us clues about the choices that we should be making?
Absolutely. You know, I think everything is one thing. So we're all connected, and obviously the messages will come from different sources. What you've just mentioned with it's a beautiful story to think that nothing that we put into the earth that can't become food. That's a beautiful way to look at it. Is good for the earth. Uranus rules Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about taking care of the earth, and Taurus is the sign of the earth. So that might be another layer of a message for us to hear, that we should take care of the food production, you know, the food security, and not harm the earth. You know, the whole thing is everybody's so fascinated about taking the people out of the way, and the earth takes care of is starting to heal. Well, between Saturn and Pluto, we have at the moment Jupiter. So Jupiter is the healer, although he's in Capricorn at the moment and not a healthy chap, not a happy chap. He's bringing out everything, showing us everything that is not healthy, that is not healing, that's not good. So he's also showing us that, and then eventually we'll have to stop doing certain things. And I think this is the most amazing thing that could happen, to bring everybody into the same moment, and in lockdown, which is Saturn, and it's hard, but how would we have seen what the earth should look like if this didn't happen? And I always say, once you know, you can never not know. So hopefully we'll carry on with better responsibility, which is Saturn, in the same setup.
Well, yeah, it's certainly a lot of food for thought there. I was actually also wondering, though, how, you know, we're all required at this time to really adapt and look at how we do things and look at our ways. And we're realizing that we are moving away from a paradigm of greed and commercialism and exploitation. And we're all looking at ways to help each other. That's been an amazing theme that has emerged. And how is that reflected in the stars?
Well, you know, I think we were very money driven, and some were more money driven than others. And I think, like we saw, you know, with China, and I'm completely not knowledgeable on the politics of today, but if you look at the abuse that that we saw over the last couple of years with producing low, bad quality stuff, and other people who is doing the slow food or the slow clothing or something that's got value and that can last for a long time. And China just jumped in and they started making very cheap versions of the same. It's just wrong not to take the people into consideration trying to do the right thing. And then obviously the people will buy the cheaper product. So that is definitely changing. And I can see now with people being at home and they can't do what they've done in the past, they started thinking. I've heard of so many people starting planting their own vegetables and gardens. We are getting back to that. People are at home, they are bored. They are starting now to do the hobby that they've put on the back burner. So I think it's becoming much more healthy. People are doing what they really maybe wanted to do for a long time. And we see.
So when they contact you, because you do work remotely, as you said, so I imagine that there are a lot of people now who are saying to you, what do I do with this in my life? What are the biggest questions that people are coming to you with? What is the most important, the biggest thing on people's minds?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is definitely finances. People are very worried that their business won't survive. Some of them lost jobs. And the uncertainty of how is it going to be on the other end of this, and then when. People want to know when is it going to go away.
And can the stars tell us that?
Yeah, it can more or less tell us that. But as I say, we've got free will, so we can do with it what we want. We can expect that this is going to last until the end of the year. It will come and go. The planets will go direct and retrograde, and the planets that I talked about, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, they are the three biggest players in the situation, and they are slow moving. And all three of them will be going retrograde soon. So we will see that lockdown will change. We will see that lockdown will be lifted in some places, but it will also there will be other restrictions. Like, and I think this morning on the news they said that they're thinking about lifting lockdown in certain places, but putting it, bringing in better rules around it, so that certain places will be operating but under strict rules. So we will be seeing all of that. That is with the coronavirus. I think we can expect that May will still be quite difficult. But from August onwards, things will go slowly back to a new normal. We will never go back to the normal we've known, and we can't even call that normal. It wasn't normal.
Yeah.
We had to get here. This is not a mistake. This is part of the spiritual world's plan to get us back to ourselves and to heal the earth and to heal us. And to live with greater respect for each other and ourselves.
Annalie, so what I'm hearing from you is that the guidance of astrology is absolutely not separable, is inseparable from what's happening with our planet and the entire universe. It just seems so interconnected and so lovingly interconnected.
It's a fabulous tool, to know what is going on with the planetary expressions of the moment. It's such a support. It's a gift. What you do with it, like anything, what you do with it is going to make a difference or not.
So how do people connect with you if they want to? And what are you are you offering anything other than readings? I think that you do some teaching as well.
Yes, I've got a couple of products. What I've done now is to I've created a new product just to support people through this time. I call it Short to Support. It's a 15-minute chat, and they can contact me with a question, and I will have a look at their chart and how it's affecting their personal chart, and then we talk about it for 15 minutes, and I do that for about a quarter of what I normally do, because I feel people don't want too much information at the moment. They just want to be um, being helped with the stress that they are in. Yeah, so that is, I don't know if you want me to give the website
Yes,
address
please.
or ask me what you want to. Okay, my website, shall I give it to you now, or is
please?
it going to be somewhere?
No,
Okay.
if you no.
www.an for Annalie, and hyphen FOLD. So it's unfold, AN with a hyphen fold.
Unfold. I love that.
Unfold, yeah.
.co.za.
Aren't we all unfolding? Sorry?
Is it .co.za?
Yes, it's .co.za.
Great. And what is your email address? Can people contact you via email as well?
Yes, Annalie Swiegers @gmail.com.
Okay.
And you spell my name without an E. So it's Anna, ANNALI, Swiegers with two S's, SWIEGERS @gmail.com.
Got that. That's wonderful. Annalie, what an absolute joy it is speaking to you. Our time has gone very, very quickly, but I feel like I've learned a lot and I'm feeling encouraged, and I do hope that you'll be able to continue to give your wonderful advice and spread some of your joy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. It was fun.
Wonderful. Bye-bye now.
Bye.